guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mama Beach, and if you haven't been here before, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you will subscribe if you like handbags and accessories. That's what I talk about pretty much all the time. And today is going to be a little bit different. Normally I do a lot of reviews and haul videos, but I really want to just talk to you guys today about something that I'm going through. And it has to do with handbags, of course, and it is my struggle to find a vintage Chanel handbag for my collection. The struggle is real, my friends. It is so hard. I have been looking for over a year probably for a vintage Chanel bag. I kind of put it on hold halfway through because I was moving, and so I was like, okay, that's gonna be expensive. I'll put it off to the side for now. And once we moved over 6-7 months ago, I started looking again. And I just want to tell you guys how frustrated I am, because the problem is I don't want to go over $1,000. And I thought this was a goal that I could accomplish. And I swear, when I was looking at vintage bags last year around this time, there were lots under $1,000. And now that I'm finally like really seriously looking and ready to pull the trigger, I can't, like, all the good stuff is between $1,200 and $1,800. So it's over my budget that I want to spend, which is kind of an arbitrary number, but I just feel like that should be a reasonable amount to spend on like a vintage bag. And I'm not talking about like a flap or a double flap or something that's a really popular classic style, because I know those are gonna go for more money. I'm talking about like a camera bag or a wallet on chain or something like small, vintage Chanel and kind of an off style that's not as popular. And I swear, when I was looking last year, there were some around $800, and they have gone up in value. It could be my imagination, but it's just another example of how you should look at designer handbags as an investment, especially if you're going to buy pre-loved, and especially if you're going to buy Chanel, Hermes, or Louis Vuitton. These brands hold their value so well, and I swear I have seen vintage Chanel go up in value over the last year by a good amount, probably at least 25%. So I wish I had pulled the trigger before I moved last year, and I probably would have a bag I could turn around and sell for more than I bought at this point. But what has really been frustrating me is, one, my arbitrary budget, which I may have to increase, but I really don't want to. And two, the amount of fake bags out there. Guys, I've only been looking on Poshmark because Poshmark offers free authentication over $500. And since I am not that well-versed in Chanel, and God forbid I buy a fake for a real bag price and I don't even know that I did it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look on Poshmark. They'll authenticate it for me. I'll have peace of mind. I have bought so many fakes on Poshmark at this point, and it has just been crazy, the amount of fakes that are out there. And either what happens is the seller sends it to Poshmark and it fails the authentication process, which has happened to me probably 5 times. And the other thing that happens is, once you purchase it and the seller realizes that instead of sending it directly to you, they have to send it to Poshmark for authentication, they cancel your order, or they come up with some weird excuse about why they can't ship it. And I've had the same experience with Louis Vuitton and the same experience with Gucci across the board. There are so many fakes out there, and there are so many people on Poshmark trying to sell fakes at real bag prices. So I have learned a couple of tips that I'll share with you quickly when it comes to Poshmark. If you see a bag and it's a really good price, go to the seller's profile page. If they just joined Poshmark today and they have 1 to 3 listings up on their page, guess what? They're a new person that's probably a scammer and doesn't realize that everything over $500 goes for authentication. And as soon as you buy that item and they get the email from Poshmark that they have to send the bag directly to Poshmark, they're gonna cancel your order, or come up with some weird excuse about why they can't mail it, and then they're gonna close their account. I have learned to check the person's page now and see if they have a lot of listings, see if they have sold listings, see if they have, I guess they're called love notes on Poshmark from people that have purchased items from them. You have to look kind of like at their feedback, and the feedback feature isn't that great on Poshmark because they don't allow negative feedback, which is a huge criticism of Poshmark. In my opinion, you should always be allowed to leave negative feedback if it's fair, just like you can on eBay, because how are you supposed to warn people if a seller is horrible? There is no way to warn people on Poshmark. All you can do is report the seller and hope that 100 other people report the seller, and then it gets shut down because it takes so many reports in order to get listings deleted, even if they're obviously fake, in order to get bad sellers deleted. I mean, and then as soon as you delete them, or as soon as Poshmark deletes them, they just open a new account with a different name. So it's kind of a crazy app, and there's certain things I like about it and don't like about it. Sorry this turned into a discussion about Poshmark, but I just wanted to share like my journey of trying to get a vintage Chanel bag and how hard it has been, and kind of like tips that I've learned, because it has been real hard. So I'm still looking for a vintage Chanel bag. I really wanted to have one by the end of the year. That was my goal. I wanted to have vintage Chanel to carry on New Year's Eve, but I don't think that's gonna happen at this point unless I raise my budget, which I don't wanna do. So in the process of looking at vintage Chanel, I started looking at vintage Gucci. You guys know I love the Gucci Soho tote that I just got. So I started looking at vintage Gucci. Vintage Gucci is really hot right now because Gucci brought back kind of a revival of some of the vintage styles and redesigned them and updated them a little bit. So you can kind of go out there and look for the inspiration piece for one of these newer styles that Gucci just put out and get the look for less, basically. So I have been looking for a vintage Gucci bag. I looked at so many. I have bought a few fakes. I would say there's probably less vintage Gucci fakes than vintage Chanel fakes after all this experience that I've had. So I finally got one that was real and that was in decent condition, and I want to show it to you guys on this video. So here it is. It came in a padded envelope. It is a crossbody. I was looking for a vintage Gucci crossbody. I just thought that would be really cute. I'm going to Las Vegas in February for my birthday, so I had this idea in my head that I wanted to carry vintage Gucci during the day, and then I wanted to carry Chanel at night. So at least I have this piece now. So here it is. It is in really good vintage condition. There's really no flaws to speak of on the outside. Even the piping is in really good shape. The strap is in excellent shape. That's the one thing I noticed about a lot of the vintage Gucci I was looking at, is that the straps really get beat up. It almost seems like this leather isn't the greatest quality, honestly, after looking at the wear that these straps get. It's almost like it's coated, but the coating isn't that great. So it tends to like chip and peel. So I will be a little bit careful with this just because I want to keep it in good condition. So here you have this little snap here that opens up. You have an outside pocket, which is great. I think it will fit my plus size smartphone. And then you have the main compartment of the bag. And the other thing I noticed about vintage Gucci is the insides are always tore to shreds. I guess they used fabric, some different fabrics and leathers that really did not hold up well to use. And this one is starting to peel, and there's like a powdery residue in here. So what I'm gonna do is actually work on it. I have read a lot about how to clean these and refurbish them. And since the outside is in really great condition, I think if I can kind of clean the inside, which has quite a few pen marks, but I'm not that worried about pen marks, honestly. What really bothers me is like the residue that's coming off. So I think what I can do is use a suede brush and kind of clean it out. And I heard it's a very long and arduous process, but I think it will be worth it to clean this and use it because it is in good condition otherwise. It definitely has a vintage odor, which is another pretty common complaint with vintage Gucci bags, and really any vintage bag. It's gonna have a smell to it. It's old. I mean, the leather is decaying. Let's just be real. That's what's happening. It's gross but true. So I'm really just gonna work on cleaning this up and then use it definitely on my trip and just around here doing errands and stuff. It's a really cute little bag, and because it's mostly coated canvas, it's durable and extremely lightweight. So those are things that I really like about it. So there it is. I got a vintage Gucci. So this video isn't all depressing, just the first part about my vintage Chanel woes. So if you guys have any advice for me, any more tips about Poshmark, any tips about finding a vintage Chanel bag that's real and under $1,000, please let me know. I am willing to do some refurbishment of a vintage Chanel bag if I find it and it's in decent condition. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, you guys know me. I love pre-loved bags. I'm fine with flaws, especially if it's something that I can kind of work on myself. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope if you haven't subscribed that you will, and check out some of my other videos. All right, guys, I'll see you on my next one. Bye.